Alrighty, everybody, it's that time again. Yes, the Beam Splitter 5000. Yes, we're talking about the new tinkercad teleprompter designed teleprompter thing that we got going on. Yes, it's early morning and I haven't even had a sip of my latte yet. Yeah. Did something a little bit different today. What I added was some protein powder to the milk, made the latte, threw some vanilla syrup in there, and I have to say it's pretty good. Today, what we're ended up doing is, we're checking out, and no, we're not inside Korea. I'm gonna have to get that right there. That's what I want. I want that little title thing to go here. That's what I want. That's what we're doing. The Beam Splitter 5000. I know I made a teleprompter with a 4x6 piece of glass that you could use a cell phone and set your cell phone on. You know, you could sit that in there and boom, use your little teleprompter app and you're good to go. And then on the back of this, what I ended up doing is having an L bracket and, made some knobs with quarter 20s. And so now what you can end up doing with some slots, and it will raise that up and down. So it was kind of a cool thing. And I just added on a a FAL 38 F38 FAL cam. It's just a little camera mount that you could put on there. That's the female end. You got the male end that goes on the bottom of your camera, and this goes up and down. So it turned out pretty good. This can be found on my Crowlity Cloud page, which we'll take a look at. I forgot. The glass is not attached. So, anyway, in case you're wondering about the glass, it ends up, I picked up the glass. It's a 4" by 6" piece of glass. And just like a dollar store, went to a picture frame, cheapest thing I could find, 4x6. Did some measurements, boom, threw it in there, and we're good to go. So it's kind of a good little thing. I'm waiting on some knurled inserts to go in here that are quarter 20 that we can see right there. So I set that hole at 7.5 millimeters. Supposedly that will work when I get the knurled edge on there, or insert. And then I'll be able to put that on a quarter 20, like a tripod stand or a boom arm or whatever. Throw your phone in there, and then you can just do your teleprompter thing. But with this, we're doing the Beam Splitter 5000. Yeah, the BS 5000. That's what we're going to end up doing. And let's go ahead and take a look at what we're doing here. If we do the share screen, and we're going to get rid of that title. Like I said, the Beam Splitter 5000. So that's what we're rocking today. Let's see if we can get this all in here. Okay, boom, there we go. The joys of live streaming. So anyway, as you can see, I've been kind of doing a lot of stuff on teleprompters and different designs, different trial and error. I always end up with a teleprompter or a model that ends up, it's got edges and creases and things that I don't want in the model. And so, for example, what we ended up here with the Beam Splitter 5000, trying to make this thing out. The tray's okay, but when we get into this piece here, we see that we got lines and we've got, little notches and things like that. Tried to smooth everything out, and of course it's tinkercad, so, tinkercad is great. I can only do so much with tinkercad because I need all the help I can get. So I was trying to figure out, and I was thinking, how can I make this so that I don't have to add a bunch of crap to it? And try to smooth things out. Things that I would end up doing would be stuff like this. We'll take like the square and we'll move it along this plane, and then we'll just try to we'll just do something like this, and then we'll just bring this across, and hopefully try to do something like this to where we could clean everything up, and then we could select this, both of them, and then we could go ahead and group them. And then once that processes, which is going to take a little bit because I got so much crap on the screen, and it's a pretty involved model. But the whole problem is that there's always lines. I can't get stuff to line up, even at the 0.1 millimeter. Tinkercad has some limitations, and I have a lot of limitations. So with this, let's see if this is this going to be done here. All right, come on. There's that. There's that. We're going to group this together, and it's going to go red. And that's Tinkercad did supposedly some new stuff and to make it run more efficiently, but honestly, I think it slowed it down. Maybe it's just because of the mass amount of stuff that I have on my work plane. Maybe that has something to do with it. But basically, we'll just kind of drive on here. So anyway, with all these lines, and even then, look at the line down here. Even though that hole, the box that we made to get rid of all those other lines, and we set it onto the plane that we see right here, we still end up getting a little line there. And so that's going to come out in the print, and I'm like, oh man, that sucks. I don't really want that. So I was trying to figure out a way, how can I make this thing without having to add a bunch of different parts that mismatch, that will get away from having all these lines and stuff. And I thought, what I can end up doing is using the sketch tool. So the sketch tool works out pretty well. So we're going to go down to our BS5000. That's what we got there, the BS5000. And we're going to rotate this thing. So we're going to select it. We're going to rotate it on its side. And we're going to end up rotating it like this onto the work plane, because the shape is good. The shape is where I want it to be. But it's just all those, these little pieces and overhangs and stuff like that that get in the way. That's something that I've been trying to get over. Well, I've been playing around, and I found out that it has this tool. So if you go over here where it says sketch, we'll click and we'll drag that over, and we'll put it into the middle of the work plane where our model is setting, and boom. So if you go ahead and back out, there we've got the side view of our BS5000. And the cool thing is, what we can end up doing is we can go down here and we can click, left click, go down. Now we'll have to make it a little bit bigger. We can do it 16. And we'll just kind of travel along this plane. And we'll go here, and then we'll take it up. And the great thing about this is I can take this and I can get this side profile, or a front profile or a back profile, whatever it is. And I can do all of this and get a real accurate, a real accurate representation of what I want. And so I can bring it down. Well, we'll just do it right. We'll add a little. It's kind of like decisions. We'll just do it there, what the heck. And then we'll come down here, and then we'll come all the way across, and we'll go back to our starting point, and there is our shape. So we got our side profile. Now, I'm not going to do any weird stuff like make, like down here on the bottom where that little cutout. I could try to do that, but I don't know how to do that in Tinkercad yet with the sketch tool. So we're going to go to the top right and hit finish sketch, and boom, there it is. So yeah, it doesn't look too impressive, but what we can end up doing is we can back out of this. We'll click on the original Beam Splitter 5000, and we'll return this back to its glory, and like so. And where's the other one? There it is. And we'll just set it back like that. And then now, what we can end up doing is we can click on this, but we need to see how high, or basically how wide this is. So if we go to this one here, we see that it's 275 by 224. We'll just click this and we'll enter in 275, and boom, there we go. So now what we can end up doing is we can rotate this, and then we can rotate it like this, and we'll hit D to put it down onto the workspace or the work plane. And now I have a shape that isn't all janky, isn't all messed up in regards to, you know, trying to do one part and then add another part and add a little riser and add the front tray. And then this is going to make things a little bit easier. So, but now, like what we end up seeing, you know, like on here, we have this cutout area. And so what I ended up doing is taking another, not that box, this box, and let me back this up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So what I ended up doing is taking this box here and basically measured from this edge right here, the inside edge, and the inside edge on the other side. I made this box so that it would fit within that, because this is going to be our cutout. And so what we're going to end up doing, and again, what we could end up is basically sliding this in like so, and then till we get the dimension that we want. Now I've got this riding on the top of this piece here. So in other words, that's going to be our plane as a reference point. And with this model, with the original one, we've got the slot up top, but we need this cutout. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take this over here to our newly made beam splitter 5000, and we're going to make sure that it's onto this work plane, which we're almost there. And I think we just go down like one. That's good enough for government work. If we get off, take off a little bit more, it's not too bad. And then now what we can end up doing is we have our box selected, and we'll select our beam splitter 5000. Excuse me. We'll go to our align tool, click on the big box, put it in the center, and then now, since the box is centered within this box here, we should be good to go. So we'll click on this box, we'll hit T for transparent, and then now what we can end up doing is we can click on the green box, and we can bring this in to where we can do that cutout. And if we zoom in here, what I can end up doing, since we're set at 1 millimeter down here at the bottom as far as the snap grid, now we'll just kind of do this, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, 7, 8, we'll do 8. But I need to leave enough room to put some rails in there for that L bracket, but I think we're good to go there. So that's what we're going to end up doing. So we'll click off of here, back to the model, we'll go do that, and we want to bring this, I'm just going to bring this right up to here, because if I bring it out to the front, if it cuts off some of the material, I want to have the sides the same, but I'm going to have an inset hole for the tray for the tablet. So in other words, I've got my Mac Mini, I've got my iPad, but I think what I'm going to end up doing is using the Mac Mini. I don't think it's, yeah, it's going to be the regular iPad, because that's basically the same size as the beam splitting glass that I got. And this is the beam splitting glass that I got. It's a 12.7 inch beam splitting glass, beam splitter teleprompting glass. And I got this off of Amazon. So when this video is over, I'll put the I'll put the link in the description box of what I ordered, how I ordered that, and how much it was. I think it was like 20, 30 bucks or something. So you don't get that double like with regular glass, when you do the teleprompter thing, what ends up happening is that you get like a kind of like a double exposure. So it's kind of like not really clear. You can still read it. It still works, and it's a cheap way to do a teleprompter for glass. But the beam splitting glass, what that ends up doing is you're able to get that, and it transfers the picture from your tablet onto the glass, and it's some type of refractory magic sorcery thing that they got going on. And what ends up happening is that you get a clearer picture. You don't get that double exposure look, and it's supposed to be really good. So yeah, I bought that. So anyway, back to our beam splitter. What we're going to end up doing, since we've got this all set up, now we're going to select the box, and we're going to go over here. We're going to click this, and we're going to make that the hole. So now we'll click. If we could click, we can click off. We'll just use the selector, and then now we'll go up to the union group, and now it did that cutout. So now I don't have, as you see here, all of those lines and everything, and the spacers, the riser that I had to end up doing that really kind of made it look kind of crappy. This looks a lot cleaner, and the other thing what we could end up doing is hollowing out this tray. So let's go ahead and do this here, and we can drag this out. Well, what we could end up doing, I guess we could just go here, and we want to have a little bit of, let's just go set it here. And if you use the this box here off to the side, you can set the radius and stuff. Therapist pops up. Hey, Steve. Hey, how's it going, bro? I think it's just one face of the glass having anti-reflective coating so it doesn't create a ghost image. Yeah, sorcery. Yep, that's it. It's some type of, it's a 70-30 thing where, yeah, anti-reflective, whatever. But yeah, I can't remember which is the 70. I think it reflects 70% of the image that's transmitted to the glass that you're able to see, and the remaining 30, so it's supposed to be super clear. So yeah, it ends up, it's supposed to be really cool. With that, I'm glad I have somebody who can explain all this stuff in terms that I don't know. But with this, there's a couple of different ways that I found out in Tinkercad. Is if you take this box and you start drawing this out, and then you do the radius, it's going to elongate. So see how the edges on these corners are really round here, and then as you pull it out, they get more elongated. The best thing to do, and we'll just go back, and let's go back to, I don't know, 20 by 20, whatever it ends up being. And if you make the adjustments in this box here, for your radius, we're going to go ahead and we're going to max the steps out, and then you have your length, your width, and your height. We're going to keep the height at 20, width we're going to go, blah, I don't know. 250, we'll do 250, but I don't think it'll do 250. Oh, no, it'll do 200. That's the max it'll go. So what we'll have to end up doing is then dragging this out to the remainder, but I think we're good there. So we'll have to drag this. So there's some limitations on Tinkercad. And then we'll bring this one there. And we're good to go. And then we can bring this piece and drag this over here, which I guess I could do that as well. And what is that? About 200? Well, that's the max I can go is 200. So yeah, that answers the question right there. But it's going to be less than that. And then we'll come back to that and set the radius. So that way our beveled edges, those corners won't be so elongated. It'll look a little bit better. So I got so much crap on the screen here. And then we can do that. and we should be good to go. And so now we're going to go back to the box here, and we're going to go to the radius. And if we set the radius here, now we can get some beveled edges that they're more, they're not as elongated. So if you set the length, width, and height of your hole that we're making here for the inset for the tray, and then do your radius, you'll get a nice curved radius. You won't get that elongated radius that we ended up getting on the quarters, which is really nice. And you know, you could make that as big or as round as you want. I think that kind of looks cool there. So, and then the other thing we could end up doing, since this has a limitation of 200, we're going to have to drag out a little bit anyway. So on the front, we're going to zoom in here, and we're just going to bring this all the way to there to make sure that we got, and we're going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I think that's enough for the front. And then the sides, this is kind of what I was looking at. If I bring 5 in for the width of the sides of those side walls, then that's going to eat into this piece here, and it's going to end up kind of looking weird. So I think I'll just keep it simple, and so we'll just have wide edges. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's just going to be a beefy little thing. But then the other thing we could end up doing is we could remove some of this material with a fillet, so we can round that out and make it look really nice. So we'll do a fillet on this edge here, and then on the front edge, and the same thing. You know, we'll do a fillet on this edge and on that edge there, off the front, and we might do something up top. So yeah, should work out kind of good. So now, if I remember, this is on the plane of this object right here, of our BS5000. So what we want to do is we want to drop this down, but we need to be able to have thickness for the tray. And the best way that I found to do this is just click, hit T for transparent, and then we'll click this here. And if it's hard to see, we can just change this box to red. And we'll do that. And then what we can end up doing is we just hit D, and it'll go all the way to the bottom of the work plane. And then we could bring this up. And let's say if we want base thickness of, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that way we've got 5 millimeters on the bottom. That is what it's going to look like there. So I think that'll work out pretty good. The other thing that you can end up doing, so if we click on this again and we hit D, as soon as you hit this little arrow thing, that's the 0 represents that it's on the base work plane. So if I go ahead and then I click that and I enter 5 and hit enter, it'll raise that up 5. So you don't have to just continually, you know, pull and drag and count the individual millimeters. You could, you know, just enter in the number and you're good to go. So let's see. I think that should be good to go. Let me click this. And yeah, I think that will work. So we'll just go back, we'll click that, we'll make that a hole, and then we'll select both of these things, and I think we're good. And we'll just go ahead and we will union group this. And boom, there we go. So now we've got minimal mess. We've got a little bit of a corner there, but I'm not too worried about that. And like I said, you know, trying to do everything, and again, I'm not CAD smart on all this stuff. This is just me stumbling through on my own. But now we've got our tray, and then with this, what we could end up doing, we've got enough of a lip there. And let's see, we can take this shape here And what we could end up doing is we could rotate this around, and this is going to be our little cable thing that we got going on. So if you have your tablet, and we could bring this here, we could bring that up, and eventually what we could end up doing is making this a whole. And is there anything? Nope, that's just, it is what it is. So with this, I think what we can end up doing is, you know, I guess we could throw the ruler on here. And we'll just set everything to 0. And where's the other one? Let's see, is that it? No, that's not what I wanted. Oh, there it is. I set this to 0 and this to 0. Now we're 0, 0 there. So now we can see that from here to here, the whole thing is 224. And, but I want to know the distance between these 2 points here. No, I don't want to do that. I think I have to go back to old school and just do my old thing here. So take this, we get 200, let's just make it 202, so we can make it 101. And so now with this centerpiece, we could drag this I don't know what is that? It's 20, so it'd be like 80 or 90-ish. But get this in the center, which that doesn't even look centered. That looks more centered. And then we could just go around, we could zoom in. I'm just trying to do I'll do the fine detail work, and let's see, let's go ahead and make that a whole. And then we'll kind of draw this out. We'll make this 30. And basically, we'll just kind of eyeball it right there. And so now what we could end up having is that little cutout for the cable for our tablet. So we could do one on that side, we could cut or copy that, and we could just go ahead and zip this along over here, and boom, we could do that. And I could put a slot on the front here, now that I'm thinking about it, because we can put the regular iPad, that's the other thing. Ooh, I forgot about that. That's not going to be big enough. We're going to have to go back and make the hole bigger. So we're going to have to, dang it, Jim. I knew there was something. But I could do that. That's not what I want. I want the iPad. That's a regular size iPad. And if I end up, man, what the hell am I doing? So the regular size iPad, if I put my iPad mini in there, that would fit. Oh, come on now. There we go. So, yeah, I'm going to have to make this a little bit bigger. So we're going to have to go through and we're going to have to ungroup this if I want the tablet to fit in there, which is 250. So if I do 254, put 2 millimeters on each side. So what is that? 254 by 175. So with this, I would have to go 254. And this part would be what was that other one? 175, 177, 170. Let's make it 178. Well, that doesn't work. No, because it's got to be longer. So we're good there. So now we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll hit this. We'll center that. And we'll get a little bit of a cutoff on this. But you know what? I think that's okay. And if we raise this up, I think we can hide that a little bit. And we can, that's not too bad. We get a little bit of an indentation there, but I think that'll be doable. If I raise that up even more, that's going to take off too much material on the top, and we definitely don't want that for, or I could just leave it like this. Because I'm going to have the, yeah, I think I might just end up just leaving it like that. Because that'll have minimum, I think that'll look good enough. Ferrithus pops up and says, I think Tinkercad is really hitting its limits on this project. No, I think I'm hitting my limits for this project. I don't think it's Tinkercad. If you've seen some of the extremely detailed models that people do, like building engines and, I mean, insane mechanical objects with gears and the whole 9 yards, I think I'm the one with the limits. But like you said in that previous video, yeah, I probably need to get on Fusion 360. But I think this will work now. So now let's double check. Let's make this transparent. And I think, yeah, I think we're good to go on that. So let's just go ahead and we'll do this whole thing again. And now we'll go back to that, make that. And that's not bad, yeah. So a little bit of a cutout there, but I don't think that's going to be anything massive. But let's get our tablet in there and make sure that it will fit. Ooh, it's going to be close. And this side, yeah, this side we're going to be good. We might have to expand that out just a wee bit more. Because that's like, what, one? Yeah, that's a little tight. Now, if you had a case, so that's basically, yeah, it's like 1 millimeter. No, that's not what I want to do. Dang it. Stop it. So we're going to have to go back. And we'll add a couple more millimeters onto our model. Onto our hole, we'll ungroup this, we'll go back to this, we'll select that, 254 we'll add, and let's make 256. And then we'll go back, we'll do the same thing here, we'll align, boom, we're good to go, group, join the beam splitter 5000, and we've got that. Now let's see if we got some room. Got a little bit more room on that side and that side. I think that's good. That'll be a tight fit, but how wide is that? That's what I'm wondering, because I could make that a little bit wider, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Holy crow. We've got room. We have room. And since we do have room here, I could take that piece, that hole, and pull it back in this direction towards us. So I can kind of alleviate that little weird little lip that we got there. Seriously? Yeah, so let's do that. Back again. And let's just go ahead and freehand this. And if we zoom in here, what we can end up doing is we can get, so we're right on the edge there. So now we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just make it 6 to give a little bit of rigidity, 1 millimeter extra rigidity. And then we'll go on this side. And we'll do the same thing. 1, 2, oops, dang it. 2, 6, and we're good there. And then on the back end, we can pull that in a little bit, like so. But it's still going to leave us with that weird little. No, it should be okay. It'll just take off that tiny little chunk there, which I think is doable. And that little extra piece of real estate, we'll just call that good. So we'll select both of those. We'll group it once again. And there we go. And now we can get our tablet. And now we've got, yeah, okay, that's a lot better. And then we still have enough space on the right. We still got enough space on the left, so that's good to go. And yeah, left, right, up and down, I think we were good. Let me double check something here. So we still got some room to. Seriously? That's what I want. Just so yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's do that. So this is a lot better than having to go through and try to piece together and make shapes. Using that sketch tool really helped a lot in regards to getting rid of a lot of this extraneous, you know, if we look at that there, I mean, that's just ugly. All the lines, things just don't perfectly line up. At least I don't know how to do that. And then here, I mean, that's not bad. That's a lot better. I mean, that's good enough for government work. It's not like I'm going to be selling this thing or anything. So, yeah, that's what we got. The beam splitter 5000. Let's get rid of that ruler thing that we got going. And then after this, what we can end up doing is taking the glass, get the measurements for the glass, add like 4 or 6 millimeters, so that way we've got enough real estate on each side. So that way, kind of like on this one here, to where we have the glass and we've got a little bit of wiggle room going back and forth. You know, we've got, and that's a little bit of room. So this one was cutting it close. So it looks like it's maybe 1 millimeter, maybe 2. So I'll probably want to add a little bit more. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Therapist got the question. It says, did the line show up in the print? Sometimes it's only 0.05 or so. The slicer doesn't even see this stuff. Yeah, and sometimes I've noticed sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes when you see it on Tinkercad, like you said, it doesn't show up in the print. Other times it does. But, you know, kind of like what we ended up seeing, the two different ones, you know, the red one that we have in the back there, it was just all jacked up. It was just, I was like, and instead of trying to fit pieces, like I do the tray, I do the riser, do the top part, and try to do all those in as separate pieces, this ends up being a lot better because I'm able to do that side profile, use the sketch tool, and get the big bulk of it done. So yeah, and this could probably, I don't know, I could probably downsize this. Maybe, I don't know. For a cell phone, no, I couldn't, because I'd have to redo the size of the cutouts for the tray and the inside. But basically, without those cutouts and holes, I could downsize it and make it smaller for cell phone usage, and it would just minimize the amount of time it would take to do all that. So yeah, but yeah, to answer the question, yeah, sometimes the lines show up because I'm not that good. Other times they don't show up because they're so minuscule. On Tinkercad you see them, but you don't see them when it's in the slicer. That's good. So anyway, yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. The BS 5000, that's going to be the new one. And matter of fact, we even got the we're going to do an inset there, and we'll call it the BS 5000. And that's after, we'll just put it about right there, because we're going to do some filleting and stuff like that. But that'll be a little bit of an inset in there, and yeah, that'll be kind of cool, the BS 5000. So the only other thing left to do would be to get the dimensions of the glass, which is, I wrote it all out here. That's a different one, because this is 12.7 inch, and it's 206 millimeters by 256 millimeters, and the thickness is about 2.5 millimeters. 2.5 millimeters is not the thickness; it's a little bit more, but that's kind of what I made for the measurement, so that way I get the slot thickness in the correct thickness thing. So yeah, there it is. Well, we ended up with the beam splitter 5000, and then the same thing that we did with the other ones. So I went ahead and did this here. We'll have our L bracket, and the same thing. We've got these little nubs going out. All that stuff looks pretty cool. And even on the bottom, we've got it rounded off and stuff. And so we need to do some channels. Might have to adjust the thickness on this. I don't think it has to be that really thick. And it's going to depend on, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Because now you got me curious, is how thick this would have to be. And something like that, and if the thickness is going to be good enough. So as we see there, might have to back that out a little bit, make this here, kind of bring this in maybe half, so we still have the male and the female and have the rails for that L bracket, but just kind of, you know, back it off a little bit, and I think we should be good to go. I mean, see, but that thickness there is, I don't know, how many millimeters is that? I think, what did we end up doing, 6 or something like that. In the live streams, you can display the chat in your camera. Oh yeah, well, I don't know. Display this. I don't know if I could do that because I'm using my Sony FDR AX53, and that's just the camera, and the display would do the teleprompter stuff, and I guess it would depend on the teleprompter app. Some teleprompter apps, like the the Elgato prompter, you're able to use that as a secondary display because actually instead of a tablet, you have your teleprompter, but you could also put the comments of your live stream, like doing Twitch or something like this. With the regular one, I don't know if you'd be able to do that. I mean, I'm sure there is. Let me see, the teleprompter I got, which is free because I'm cheap in some ways. No, it just has the script. But I could use, maybe I could do a split screen. And I don't know, maybe? I don't know. I'd have to try to do like a, do a split screen. So if we've got the teleprompter thing and then able to get another app to where it would show the comments, I'd be able to do that, I think. But I know the Elgato prompter, what is it, like $250, something like that. The bottom portion is a display, so you can do your teleprompter stuff and you can see the comments on stream and stuff like that. Well, in live streams, you don't have to have a teleprompter. You just open your chat from your live stream. It's an iPad after all. That's true. Yeah, definitely could do that. So, yeah, if I'm not reading a script, which usually I don't, I don't know why I'm making a teleprompter. But yeah, I could totally do that and show the stream with the comments. That'll be an interesting thing because I'm not in the live stream. Can I just show the comments? That is the question. So let me pull up. Nope, that's not what I want. What do I want? I want that. Might as well check on the live stream here and see. View my channel. And the Beam Splitter 5000. So we got that going on there. And I could, oh yeah, it does. So I do have the comments. So yeah, I could set this up, but then it would have to be reversed and upside down, I guess, to be able to read it. I don't know, that's a good question. I wonder if I could set that somehow. Let me see. Settings, chat filter, no. Top messages. I don't know, that's a good question. I'll have to dig into that. There's probably a way to do it. So anyway, but that's what we got going on is the Beam Splitter 5000, the BS 5000, the BS 5K is the new teleprompter that I'm working on. And like I said, I do most of my live streaming without reading a script, so I'm not sure why I'm making a teleprompter. Go figure. Anyway, what I ended up doing is checking this out with the previous version that still had all the lines and everything. Matter of fact, what we can end up doing, arcade, where is my BS 5000? Desktop stand, phone stand. Oh, I bet you I don't have it. Oh, no. Therapist says, does it need to be reversed? If it's just in there, I don't think the text needs to be reversed. But with the teleprompter, that's a good question. I'm not sure, but with the teleprompter app, to be able to read it on the script, come on now, and then it's going to be set like that. And so when I press play, it's going to go like that, but because it's reflected off of a mirror, that what's going to happen is that reflection is going to reverse it, so it's going to look normal. So let's see. So you end up seeing there but on the phone itself, it ends up, so it's got to be not reverse, but upside down or whatever it is, whatever orientation that is. It's going to have to end up changing, but with the comments, well, let's just do this. Let's go back to our YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, see what I mean? Yeah, it's that sorcery, that thing that we got going on. But would be interesting to see. Let's go back to that channel, the live, and we got the comments. Yeah. Yeah, see what I mean? Yeah, it's that. And there, of course, that's not going to work. Maybe it does like that. But there you can see how things reverse. So if it's normal on the phone, it's going to come out different on the feed. So it'd have to somehow change or learn how to read upside down, backwards, reversed. I mean, I can read upside down. So if you have a piece of paper and you turn it the other way, I could read it like that. I've been able to do that for quite some time. Not that I cheated during school, but I'm just saying. But yeah, I'm sure there's probably an app, and there's probably somewhere where you could reverse or flip or whatever the display. So yeah. Therapist. Still another skill to learn, reading upside down and reversed. Yeah, reversed I didn't have to do, but reading upside down, I learned how to do that, and that helped. It was funny because I remember in school I'd have to take a test, and it's like I had problems, and I go up to the teacher, and the other papers were on the desk, and so as you put your paper down, the other students did, and so I go up and say, hey teacher, what about this? As I'm reading and trying to see if yeah, sometimes it worked, most of the times it didn't. But I was able to read and do the upside down thing or the flipped version. So, yeah. But I still graduated. But with that, an interesting note is I was on the verge of failing and not making it through high school. And matter of fact, it was my sophomore year. I went to 4 different high schools during high school. So, yeah, my grades weren't the best. If I didn't see a reason why, you had to give me a good reason why I needed to learn these topics, then I would study and I would do well. If you couldn't explain to me why, I would just, I wouldn't be interested in it. Why do I need to know calculus or geometry or whatever? And nobody, well, you needed to pass the class. That doesn't answer my question. So I hated math, and now I'm doing addition, subtraction, and all that stuff. But with that, it was funny because the way that I passed high school, or at least my sophomore year, is there was a girl who worked as in the student office, in the administration, and she had a crush on me, and it ends up that my grades were really bad. She got into the computer system back in the day. Instead of getting failing grades, she was able to give me a couple of passing grades, and thus I was able to pass from that grade the sophomore year to go to junior, and then I graduated normal. So, yeah, it was, and she was cute, but we never went out. Yeah, it was a bad thing. Let's see. Oh, what was the thing we were going to do? We were going to take a look at the Beam Splitter 5000, and let me see if I can bring that up on the slicer, because there's my teleprompter. And where is it? Slotted bracket, teleprompter, 3D. Because I wanted to see, no, that's not it. Steve the Heartbreaker. I just use and abuse the women. She's nice, I guess. like I said, I was just more interested in riding bikes and jumps and playing video games, Defender and Galaga and stuff like that. I wasn't that time. I wasn't into girls. I was still doing boy stuff or the young boy stuff. But let's get back to our beam splitter 5000, and we'll export that. And once that is exported, and we will bring this into Creality Cloud, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So let's jump into Creality Cloud. Boom, there it is. So there's the beam splitter 5000. Of course, it's not going to be in red PLA. It's going to be in black, but yeah, definitely a lot cleaner. And that is pushing the limits of the K2 Plus. So in orientation, we'll do that. And we'll just click that to make sure it's in the center. So we're good to go. And I don't think we need to worry about that. We go to global, 0.2 layer height, which is good. Aligned, classic, now we want Arachne, and then 2 wall loops, maybe 3, but I think the 2 has been good. 15% density, we'll do gyroid. I think we're good there. Let's slow down for that. I usually set to 60. Supports, I think we might have some problems on supports here. So we'll do that, build plate only. Leave that, that, that. And we'll just do a little check here and see what goes on. And when I was testing this out before, I think I had problems because of the tree supports actually got off of the plate, and so keep the fingers crossed. Maybe it'll work. Ooh, it worked. Ooh, look at how close that is. That is so close. So we've got, it'll take a day and 23 minutes. It's going to be 632 grams of filament. It's going to cost me $12.64. And boom, booyah, there it is. But I still need to take out, I still need to put the slot in the top there for the glass, and then I need to do the hole in the back. But yeah, we're looking at about probably about 600 grams of filament. But before, it wouldn't fit on the plate. So that's kind of interesting. So let me save this. It's the Beam Splitter 5000. Do that, and we'll go to Creality Cloud. Come on. Oh, seriously? File, save project as 5K. Creality Cloud has been, or this program, Creality Print, has been force crashing and stuff like that. And there we go. Okay. My teleprompter and Beam Splitter 5000. We'll just save that and close that out. So, yeah, some good stuff there. Interesting stuff. And yeah, here's what I'm talking about. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it finally quit. So anyway, it ends up, yeah, the Creality Print on the Mac. I don't know if it's because of the Sequoia 15.6 or whatever, but recently I've noticed that the Crowdy print has to force quit. Even though I close the program and I'm done, it won't close off to force quit and have problems with that. So yeah, kind of some interesting stuff. Hopefully Crowdy will end up fixing all that up. But yeah, the Beam Splitter 5000, that's what we're talking about. So it should be a pretty interesting little project, especially with the beam splitting glass that I ended up getting, which, oh, by the way, I might as well show you all that. And let me just pull this up, make sure beam splitting glass. And my Facecam 4K is going to be showing up here pretty soon. And here we go. So here it is. So I ended up purchasing this 12.7-inch beam splitting glass, 70/30, fit 12-inch teleprompter, DIY teleprompter, industry standard glass with 70/30 visible light transmission without ghosting. So yeah, and that's $26 for that right there. And you're talking about another $12 for the filament. Boom. It's, you're paying way less than what you would for a regular teleprompter. And you can see, you got some that are $100, $170, $189, and others, $159. Then you get some that are, even more expensive, which is crazy when you look at the prices. $5.99. That's got a travel case and whatever. But yeah, just to be able to make your own. But that is the glass that you ended up getting, and the packaging was awesome. I don't know why they show that. Yeah, transmit 70% of light, reflect 30% of the light. So in other words, like we saw, come on, down there, 70% is transmitted up and 30% is reflected, and it's at a 45 degree. I think it ends up with the BS 5000. I had to adjust it to 46 degrees for it to kind of line up with the dimensions there that I made. Yeah, DIY is the way to go. Yeah, I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, and then if you can't make it, you can always go online and find somebody who has made it and be able to print that stuff out, or Maker things or stuff like that. So there's another one. It's 8.1 inch by 10 inch. Thickness is 0.04, which is 1 millimeter. So that's why I made that thickness on that to be 2.5. So I could probably make it 2, but I wanted to have some wiggle room in there. But if it's 1 millimeter, 2 would be good enough. 2.5 is good. Have some wiggle room just in case. But probably maybe 2.25 or something. So yeah, pretty good stuff. I think that's going to be a cool little project there. And again, it's only like $25, $26. And if you got some points on Amazon Prime, you're good to go on that. You can get it for cheaper. Unfortunately, I blew all my points on a previous thing. So yeah, that's what we got. So anyway, that's what we have for today. Monday here in Korea, 1 September. Yeah, for those in the States, it's yesterday. But yeah, Monday's here in Korea. 79 degrees, and we're looking at it's going to be cloudy today with a high of 85. 80% chance of rain, so we've got that going on. And the rest of the week is going to be 85 to 87, mid 80s basically is what we're looking at until like not this coming Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that, it'll get down to like 70 or 80 degrees. So the weather's cooling off a little bit, thank God. And the humidity here in Korea is a little bit rough, but it works out pretty good. Fall is coming. I can't wait for cooler weather. I'm more of like a 75 degree and lower type of person. Maybe 80, 85 if I'm swimming or at the beach. Other than that, I don't want the hot and humid weather. So that's what we got going on. So anyway, yeah, just wanted to make a video on the BS 5000. That'll be a new project. Going to continue working on that. In about 13 days, we're going to be heading to Hanoi. We're going to Vietnam, so we'll go to Hanoi. We'll end up doing a few days there, and then we're going to go to Sapa for, I don't know, I can't remember how many days we're going there. So it'll be a few nights, and then we'll go Franzipan, and we'll come back. There's like a train, overnight train that we're going to take from Hanoi to Sapa, and of course back again. And then when we get back to Hanoi, I think we're going to spend a couple of nights to kind of decompress and have more food and coffee and whatever else. So it'll be a good trip, hopefully. So with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this video short. Probably not short. We're just going to cut it and just call it a day. So with that, there it is, the end screen. Everybody who bought me coffee over here, they're awesome, great. I appreciate that. If you want to, that's fine. But the best thing that you could do for me is to go ahead and hit the like button on the video, get more views, more subscribers, all of that good stuff. And that's, I don't know, I'm retired. I got to have simple goals, likes and subscriptions and yeah, keep doing the hobby stuff. So with that, the email address, if you want to shoot me an email, you can do that. I answer all of my emails usually within 1 or 2 days. Of course, not when I go to Vietnam. But if you just want to say hi, if you want to talk about hobby stuff, show me what you're doing, that's totally cool. Or you have questions on expat stuff because we live in Korea. All of that, cool stuff. Therapist says, enjoy your day, Steve, and you as well, sir. Always good interacting with everybody, and I think we're going to call it good. So have a good one, y'all. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace. The BS 5000.